Hi guys, Gypsy here from mentalwarriorspeerchat, and today's topic is kind of a follow-up video on how I'm doing and how I'm feeling. And the main topic of the video is going to be comparing good and bad providers. If you've listened to any of Damien's videos, Damien talks about, good providers and bad providers. So I kind of want to go a little bit into depth with that one. But first thing I want to do is talk about how I'm feeling. We're day 3 in me not taking the medication anymore that was making me feel so bad, and I feel a lot better. I can't say I feel great. I can't say I'm 100%. But I do feel a little bit more myself. I don't feel nearly as sick. The headaches have gone. I was actually able to get out of the house a little bit today and work on my porch and get it cleaned up and spring ready and all that fun stuff. It wore me out a lot. It really wore me out, to be honest. I mean, because it's the first time I've really done anything in about a week and a half now as far as like cleaning and physical labor. And it was right much, but in the same breath, I really enjoy being out there and getting a little sunshine and some fresh air. So there's kind of that, and I want to extend my appreciation to everybody that checked in on me and sent me good vibes and prayers and positivity and all their loves and stuff while I was not feeling my best. Send my appreciation to everybody in my group, the peer group, that, kind of helped hold the group down while I wasn't feeling it great and wasn't in the group very much myself. So big round of applause to you guys and big loves. I really appreciate it because you guys, really did stick together with each other and held it through there. So it didn't really matter if I wasn't around much. Okay, so on to the good providers and bad providers. The first thing I want to cover when it comes to this is, you guys know that I just recently came off of a med that didn't really suit me. And what I really want to reiterate here is that doesn't make me feel any different about my psychiatrist and how I feel about her. I really appreciate her. She's a great psychiatrist. I adore her, to be honest. She's very well respected, and I feel absolutely no different because she prescribed this medication to me that didn't suit well with my body. That's not on her, that's on my body. I still respect her and will continue to see her because, I've been working with her for 2 years now, and, we're trying. And, we'll continue to try until we get things right. So, that's what you do, unfortunately. Sometimes it's a good try and other times it's not. But that doesn't mean she's, any less of a provider for me. She actually goes out of her way. And this is what a good provider, I feel like, should. She actually goes out of her way to make sure that, I'm okay and that she thoroughly talks to me. She does have to get on her computer while I'm in her office to update my charts as we're talking because it's just easier for them to do it that way, to sit there on their laptop while they're talking to you and type things in as you're saying them. And a lot of people think, well, they're not paying attention to me. She does pay attention. If they're looking at you, if they stop typing and they're looking at you and they're asking you questions, they're paying attention. Trust me. They're just trying to do their job. It's a lot different nowadays compared to what it was, even 2 or 3 years ago, to where they sat down and just simply talked to you and then they would do their notations in your chart later. Unfortunately, sometimes doing it that way, a lot of information that needs to be in your chart could be lost. So I actually like the new way that they're doing it with them being on the laptop as they're talking to you. Just because they're on their laptop while you're in the office with them doesn't mean that they're not paying attention to you or that you are any less valuable as a patient to them. It's just their way of updating your chart as you're doing your appointment. And I think that's actually kind of cool because that way I actually know that things that I'm saying and me telling her how I'm actually feeling is going straight into my chart immediately the moment I see it. She'll actually stop me and ask me, hey, slow down a second. I need to what did you just say so I can get this in there, because I want to make sure it's well documented, not for any other reason other than if I need to pull your notes back up because something's not working and you call me, I can read through your notes and see exactly what happened on our last appointment. Don't think because they're on their laptop that things are not how they're supposed to be, that they're not paying attention to you. It's just the way things are done nowadays. It's a little bit more difficult when you're doing a video call, and I know a lot of doctors' places are doing that. Not just now due to the virus that's out, but a lot of places don't actually have a particular psychiatrist in their office or a particular specialist. So you have to do video conferences through the office. Very uncomfortable. I can't say I like this version of a doctor's visit. I really can't say I like it as a psychiatrist visit. I've seen it. I've actually been in an appointment like it. It's very uncomfortable. It's very unpersonal, I think, is the worst part. It just, not having that person with you in the same room makes it, to me, very impersonal. And I think that that's one of the things that we really need a lot in a doctor or psychiatrist, is that, feeling like you have a personal connection with them. And it's hard to do that if they're doing a video conference. And that's something that we're all going to have to adapt to, unfortunately, during this virus right now with Corona going around, is more video conferences calls to your doctor or over the phone calls for appointments. So, just because we're having to adapt to it right now, don't think it is any less personal. It just feels that way. Because I'm going to still talk to my doctor. It's just going to be through a video. It's the same lady. To going to a bad provider. I've had very different experiences with different doctors. And what I think of as a bad provider is someone that makes you feel like you are a inconvenient, that you are a bother, or that they're not paying attention to what you're saying. They kind of brush off your feelings. They find what you say to them irrelevant. And to me, you can't get the best of care if the doctor or psychiatrist that you're going to talk to makes you feel like what you're telling them doesn't matter. If I'm trying to tell you how I feel and what I feel like inside my head or my body, and you're brushing me off, or you make me feel like what I'm saying doesn't matter, or that it doesn't make any sense, or that it's all in my head. Yeah, I've actually been told that one, that it's all in my head. Okay, well, of course it is. I have a mental illness. Of course it's in my head. Come on now. It actually really hurts to hear a doctor say that. Some of those I would definitely call bad providers. I've had doctors that has canceled appointments at the last minute, to the point that I would end up going several months without an appointment, and sometimes that's not good. So I kind of chalk them up to being bad providers. If you go to the doctor and they make you feel uncomfortable in any way, that's definitely a cause for concern. You might want to rethink about going back to that doctor if they make you feel uncomfortable. But ask yourself, what about it makes you feel uncomfortable? Do they just give you creepy vibes? Do they make you feel like a bother? What? Don't just go, oh, they make me feel uncomfortable. Try to ask yourself why they make you feel uncomfortable. And doctors are just like medication sometimes. They may work for me, but it may not work for you. I go to my doctor and I find her great. I think she's really wonderful. And I have someone that I know that goes to her who really doesn't quite mesh with her. And it's just a difference of personality. So that's also another thing is, sometimes it could just be a clash of personalities that you don't feel comfortable with this person. I've been to many counselors that I really just did not feel comfortable with. Um, I can remember one particular provider that I would definitely call a bad provider that talked to me like I was a kindergarten child. It was very patronizing, and I straight up never went back to her because of it. I felt very uncomfortable because of it. I've actually been to a provider that talked more about her problems than my own problems, and I'm like, which one of us is getting paid in this? Because I know all about your problems. It doesn't really seem like much of a counseling situation if I'm here at a counselor's office and listening to the counselor tell me about her problems. So that was a little weird. So, chalked her up to being a bad provider. Sometimes you can get different diagnoses from different doctors. And you just kind of have to, I guess, do a little research on your own on that to see, which one of these diagnoses that you feel really suits you. And then kind of pick from there which doctor you feel like is more legit than the other one. Because that has happened before. You go to two different psychiatrists that may work in the same building, and one psychiatrist say one thing and one psychiatrist say something completely different. Don't really chalk that up to bad providers. Chalk that up to one may be a little bit more experienced than the other. You may have told one something different compared to the other doctor, and go from there. Pharmacist is another thing I'm going to include there in a provider. If you go to a pharmacy and you have questions for the pharmacist and they act like they're too busy or too concerned with what they're doing to help you, then you might want to think about going to a different pharmacy. Because when it comes to your health, be it your mental health or your physical health, you have to be able to trust your pharmacist just as much as your doctor. You should be able to talk to your pharmacist and feel comfortable with talking to them like they're really taking time to express to you concerns that you may have. Don't be scared to jump psychiatrists. Don't be scared to jump doctors. Don't be scared to jump to different pharmacists, especially if it means a huge difference in your life, because some of these can make a huge difference in your life. Another thing I want to talk about is WebMD and Googling your own symptoms and medications that may or may not work. Okay, guys, we are not doctors. Google is not a doctor. WebMD may have some doctors in their background somewhere. I don't know. They are very informative, that particular website. But anyway, my point here is don't diagnose yourself by going on a freaking website or Googling your symptoms. There's just no way to do it. I mean, we have to work with these doctors for a long period of time to get our answers. And that's the only way to properly do this. Just because your friend is on a certain medication, or your cousin or your grandma or whoever is on a certain medication for their anxiety or their bipolar or for their schizophrenia or whatever, don't think that this particular pill is going to work for you. So don't go Googling this pill and then go back to your doctor and go, hey, I want to try this. Because there may be several reasons why the doctor hasn't put you on that medication yet. I'm not saying don't ask them about a medication that you've heard good things about, because it's worth asking. But don't decide that they're a bad provider because they wouldn't put you on the newest, latest, greatest medication that's out. Because it might be something that's not great for you at all, and they've already deciphered that and just hadn't said anything. So, ask, but don't throw it off as they're not a great doctor because they wouldn't put you on this newest, latest, greatest pill, because it might not be something you can take. So that's an important key also, is, don't try to undermine your doctor or your psychiatrist or your pharmacist by Googling something. Just because Google says you have something doesn't mean that, that's what you have. That's what your provider's for. And if you don't like the diagnosis that a provider gives you, certainly go for a second opinion. You don't even have to go in for a second opinion in their office. Go outside of their office, whatever makes you feel comfortable. But don't chalk up that this doctor is not a good doctor because you Googled a symptom or you Googled a med and they won't put you on that med. So, definitely use your brains when it comes to a lot of that stuff and weighing what's a good doctor and what's a bad provider. All right, guys, another thing as far as good providers and bad providers is you can get on the internet and you can actually look up doctors and see reviews and Yelp reviews and Google reviews and medical doctor reviews on certain websites. And I'm not saying don't trust these reviews, but you can have one bad apple to bring a doctor's review down. And it could be something completely out of context, and you might pass up a possibility of a good doctor. Try for yourself. Ask around to friends and family that you do trust, their opinions thereof. Don't read on a website that, Dr. Green does not have a good bedside manner when Dr. Green could have just been having a bad day himself that day and got a bad review. Or a begrudged past employer has made a bad review about them, because that is possible. So, really check out doctors when you decide to go to a new doctor. Do your own research. Don't look on a website and go, oh, they got a 3 out of a 5. Because it may not be an accurate account of how good of a doctor they really are. Because honestly, the place I go doesn't get very great reviews, and I think they're a fabulous location. I think that the office is good. Honestly, the receptionist I could care a little less for, but I'm not gonna, merit how I feel about the receptionist there to how my care goes there. Another thing, guys, about good and bad providers is sometimes it's all about miscommunication or lack of understanding. Sometimes a doctor may not word something that you understood completely. Sometimes it just was poor explanation on their part, or, poor misunderstanding on your part. Whatever the case may be, if you have a doctor that you feel kind of okay about but not really sure one way or the other, see if you can find a friend that you trust or a relative to go with you to a couple of your appointments, and see if they'll talk to the doctor with you and get their opinion on the doctor before you make that call of whether it's a good or bad provider. Because sometimes, especially if we're going in for our mental health, we may be having a fog brain day and not quite comprehend everything the doctor says. Sometimes your doctor may talk a little too fast and you didn't catch everything the doctor said, or you misunderstood what the doctor said. So don't hesitate to ask the doctor to repeat themselves or to explain themselves. And if it's still, you're kind of on the limb about whether they're good or not, get that opinion from a friend or a loved one. Get somebody that you can trust with your personal information inside of a doctor's office to go with you, because it could mean a huge difference of a good doctor versus a bad doctor. All right, guys, so I've kind of fumbled through this a little bit here and there, but I hope I made myself clear enough, and if I didn't, please let me know, because I'm going to blame it on my meds. Or I should say, I'm still working off those bad meds in my head, so. But, send me some love. Let me know how we're doing on here. I saw Damien got some kudos from somebody on here. I really appreciate that. Because he does such an excellent job. He really does. He sends me the videos and I edit them out. And some of the bloopers I wished I would put on there for you guys to see. But, out of respect, I don't. But you gotta love Damien. He's really great at explaining things and getting everybody all worked out correct in the head. I mean, I've even watched a few of his videos, and I'm like, wow, I never thought of that way. I'm so kind of glad I paid attention to his video as I was doing the edits. Anyway, big loves. I'm back to feeling a little bit more as myself, so hopefully there'll be a few better videos coming up in the future. I do have a few ideas. If you guys have any topics that you want me to cover, or anything that you would like me to explain a little bit more, feel free to drop me a line, hit me up on Facebook, join my group. Well, I should say join our group, because I might be the founder, but I have a whole team there that works with me and really does a great job helping me out, taking care of things in the background. So hit us up, like us, share us, and the whole 9 yards. Send a big love yours way. Peace, and till next time.